You are not getting the most out of your musical experiences. How often do you really listen to music? How much music do you have in your pocket? Are you aware of the music that surrounds us every day? Unless your entertainment is a book, you're probably listening to music as you play a video game, go shopping, or watch a film. Music stimulates the pleasure centers of our brains, so if you can better understand what it is you're hearing, you're going to get a lot more from the music you already love. And as a bonus, you might find other kinds of music to be more accessible. I can't remember life without classical music. My parents were always blasting great recordings around the house. 19th century, top 40. And I started violin when I was 2.5. So I can't remember a life without listening to this kind of music. But imagine my confusion at school when other kids didn't really share my passion for this great art, and I didn't share their knowledge of pop culture. I remember a boy in grade school wearing a t-shirt that said, "The Police," and I thought he was an early convert to law enforcement. He explained that the Police was a band, so that conversation went pretty well. Yeah. You probably already know that we can train our ears and our brains to listen more actively to conversations, perhaps to TED Talks. We can get more from our musical experiences as well by using some of the same techniques. American composer and author Elliot Schwartz calls this perceptive listening. Two of the most important facets of this are sensitivity and vocabulary. Sensitivity means to hone your ears, pick out the sounds around you, separate them, identify them, and think about how they're contributing to your environment. Let's try it right now. Okay, everybody, please close your eyes. What can you hear besides the sound of my voice? Is it the hum of the lights? Is it the person next to you breathing? Maybe it's the digestion of someone's lunch. Okay, you can open your eyes now, or keep them closed, as you wish. So you can do this exercise everywhere, certainly while listening to live music or to a film, but you can try this with your colleagues at work, with your family at home. The tone of someone's voice tells you a lot beyond their words if you're paying attention, so don't miss out. My mother used to say that I could hear ice cream being scooped at 100 yards. While this was advantageous as a child, it wasn't because I had superhuman hearing. It was simply that my early musical training had enabled my ears to pick up on sounds of interest. Perceptive listening in action. Now that we've discussed sensitivity and you have an idea of how to use it, we need another tool. We need the right vocabulary. Because music is essentially a non-verbal art form, we need special words to describe what we're hearing. Words like rhythm, tempo, melody, and harmony. Without one of these four essential building blocks, most music couldn't exist. Through a practical understanding of what these words mean, we can then identify what it is we're hearing, and we can have a more rewarding experience from all kinds of music, whether we're listening to a pop song, or a symphony, or a film score. Some of my favorite professional experiences have been recording for film scores, like The Theory of Everything and The Hunger Games. Since most people go to the movies, and the music used in movies is recognizable and yet also complex, I'm now going to demonstrate rhythm, tempo, melody, and harmony using music you may have heard somewhere before. That was from the opera Carmen, first premiered in Paris 140 years ago. But you've probably heard it somewhere before, like a commercial or a film. So it's a great example of rhythm. And rhythm means the beat of the music. It's the strong, regular patterns of long notes and short notes. It's the placement of the sounds in time. If I were to play this for you again, using all the same rhythm, no variety to the rhythm, just playing the notes, it'd be a little bit more boring. It's the rhythm that gives these notes their structure, their character, and their flavor. I didn't play that piece the way it was intended, although I did play all the right notes. I didn't play it at the correct tempo. Tempo means the speed or pace of the music. It's the Italian word for time. Whether in a Madonna song or a Beethoven symphony, the composer usually writes out instructions for tempo. Let me show you what this composer really intended and how the speed of the music makes a huge difference to the mood and effectiveness of the music. Much more urgent at a fast speed. After all, that song is called the Obsession Sonata. Now that you have an idea of how to apply rhythm and tempo to a piece of music, perhaps you'd like to think about it in your daily life. Did you know that restaurants with an emphasis on profit and high turnover will often play loud, fast music? That's because this kind of music stimulates our subconscious urges to eat more quickly and leave. However, fast, loud music also suppresses the appetite. So you might want to think about what you're listening to next time you're trying to go on a diet. Perhaps you should consider techno. So a melody is a pleasing sequence of single notes. In less technical terms, it's the tune, the part that anyone can sing. We know this all too well from the popular pastime of karaoke. When was the last time you had an earworm? That's a song which gets stuck in your head no matter how hard you try to get rid of it. Even though an earworm can be quite irritating, it's actually a great example of melody, because a really good melody is recognizable and unforgettable. Kind of like this. That's from an opera by Puccini, but you've probably heard it used outside the opera house in surprising ways, like the trailer for the video game Grand Theft Auto 3. Yeah, believe it or not. Imagine how many teenage boys were affected by that piece of music. So the violin is a great way to demonstrate melody because it is essentially a melodic instrument. The Italian old masters were attempting to mimic the sound of a woman's voice when they first created their instruments. So in this case, the violin can demonstrate a melody actually written for a singer, much better than my own voice can. We've discussed rhythm, tempo, and melody, but now comes the most important element, harmony. Harmony is a pleasing combination of two or more notes played at the same time, as opposed to melody, which is one note at a time. So if this is one note, and this is one note at a time, melody, then harmony is two or more notes all at once. Harmony is essential to the structure and diversity of music. Do you remember the piece that I played at the very beginning of this talk? It's actually from a Bach sonata for solo violin. You've heard a lot of pieces by Bach, since his compositions have been used in films and songs by everyone from Monty Python to Lady Gaga. Not bad for a guy born in 1685. So I'm going to play just the opening of the Bach for you again in two different ways. See if you can spot the difference. The first way was just the melody. The second way had all of the harmonies. So I like to think of the melody as a general leading an army. The harmony is kind of like the soldiers. The general could definitely attempt to fight a battle all by himself, but he's a lot more effective with the soldiers backing him up. A big part of harmony and the battle for our emotions is whether or not the notes are formed to make a major key or a minor key. So a minor key produces sounds of sadness and melancholy, whereas harmonies or melodies in a major key might make you feel sort of happy and triumphant. I'm going to play the opening of the Bach Sonata, which is G minor. Now, the opening chord to the Puccini melody is G major. Only one note is different in those chords, but it makes such a huge difference to the mood. Kind of sad. Maybe you feel better. If you are able to identify the difference between major and minor in any piece of music, you're going to experience a much greater variety of emotions while you listen, especially with music that switches back and forth between minor and major quite often. The Beatles use this technique in some of their best songs, like While My Guitar Gently Weeps and When I'm 64. Thanks to the magic of technology, you can also hear a lot of famous songs out there that have been switched from their original key to the opposite, so minor to major or vice versa. One of the examples of this is the Game of Thrones theme. So if you Google songs switch from minor to major, you'll find things like this weirdly happy version of Game of Thrones where nothing ever goes wrong, and you can also find like a cheerful version of Michael Jackson's Beat It. Yeah, just two of many examples. Go out there, find it, amuse yourself. Just as film music is written to evoke a mood and to inspire our emotions to complement the visual aspect on screen, classical music is also designed to tell a story and to elicit our emotions. All the music you heard today was meant to take you on a journey. Where you go is up to you. Even music with lyrics you think gives us a tangible narrative, but I encourage you to keep listening. Listen perceptively beyond the singer's words. Pick out the rhythm, the tempo, the melody, and the harmony. Use your newfound sensitivity. If you can identify these four elements just the way a musician would, you're going to get a lot more out of all the music you love. And I hope that you'll feel inspired to explore other genres of music, things less familiar to you. I challenge you, think about the music surrounding you, whether you're at the movies, in a restaurant, at the gym. Don't just let it wash over you. Experience it with your brain as well as your heart. I believe that if we can get more out of music, we will also get more out of life. Thank you.